Hi, me again. Okay, so we are following up on fermentation. We're in the distillation step of the alchemical transmutation process. We're almost done, almost there. So, okay, quick recap. We started with calcination. Calcination was super fucking your life up when the ego's effects take hold. So then we go to dissolution. Dissolution is adding water, which is emotional content, and acceptance. Acceptance is a huge step. If you don't include the acceptance part, just dissolution doesn't really work. So then separation. So now that you've accepted your role in fucking your life up, you separate yourself from the causes which will do that again. And then conjunction is when you reincorporate, what's left over from what you've separated into your future goals and what you want, from here on out, who you want to be type deal. And then fermentation. Fermentation is, probably where we spent the majority of our life, just growing and being more open-minded and adding new knowledge to a lifetime of knowledge we already possess, but then are still growing into, evolving, a little bit at a time. So now we're in distillation, and distillation is sort of the refinement process of all of those steps before. Distillation is about, putting the puzzle pieces together and activating the third eye. So there's a lot of talk about third eye confusion, and it's like this mysterious, there's not like a magical spell that you read and all of a sudden your third eye is open and you can see the unseen. That's not how that works. It's a slow growth process. So the pineal gland is defined as an atrophied photoreceptor in your brain. It's in the very middle of your brain. It's the tiniest little gland, and it produces its own hormones. It does that, naturally on autopilot. It will automatically secrete hormones according to circadian rhythms and, light. So essentially it's a photoreceptor, so it receives light, and it also projects light, like in your dream state. It'll project light that it received throughout the day, even light that you don't remember seeing. So, okay, the way that it works is it's connected to the optical photoendocrine system. So you receive light through your eyes, through your ears, through your nose, through your mouth, through your hands. Like whatever sensory perception you receive is light information, just so you know. It's data. It's encoded data. And there's a binary code system to all light. It's not just ones and zeros. In the Asian, Korean and, Chinese theories or philosophies, they use the trigrams, and the trigrams are a binary code. Everything has its own binary code, feminine and masculine energies separated yet working together in balance and polarity. So anyway, what happens is you see a small percentage of what there is to see. And it's not that you're not seeing at all. It's that you're not consciously recognizing and interpreting everything that you're intaking. So what happens is you see something and you looking at, whatever's in front of you, landscape. So that's a lot of light information to take in at one time. So your brain doesn't want to process all that information at once. Your brain wants to focus on certain aspects of what you're looking at. So the information goes through your neural network. Okay, so the electricity, the masculine energy is inside the neurons. Okay, encasing the neurons are these sheaths, skin. It's essentially skin around each nerve. So the neuron will have like the myelin sheath, or it's made of glial cells, which are feminine. Okay, so glial cells, what they do is they insulate and separate. They don't create any new information, and they don't take away any information. They just ship it off into different directions. So what your glial cells determine to be pertinent to the common or current focus of the consciousness will ship over to the brain for processing. Sky, grass, you know, whatever, colors, shape, texture, all of that information will go to the brain for processing. What doesn't go to the brain for processing gets shipped back into long-term memory. So your long-term memory will see 20% of the vibrational frequencies in front of you, but you're only consciously focused and recognizing and interpreting 7% of that. So the other 13% is in your long-term memory, right? You can go back there and you can investigate in your dream state stuff that you didn't realize that you saw. But with the third eye pineal gland more active than on autopilot, you can see up to all of that, you know, in the moment, and consciously focus and interpret it with your brain that you already have, you know, like so much of the brain that we're not using is reserved for this purpose. So it's not as if you're creating new things or that you're seeing into parallel dimensions. It's not that way. With the third eye, it's really just that your brain is more open to interpret things that are already in front of you. So that's essentially seeing the unseen. But then, you know, there's a deeper meaning to seeing the unseen, because then you can see past the shell of the object or person or entity in front of you. Like, you look at somebody and, you know, like when you fall in love, you know, someone that you thought wasn't terribly attractive the first time you saw them, when you fall in love with them, you find them extremely attractive, you know, and you wouldn't in passing by, but because of the way that you are emotionally connected to them and the respect that you have for them, they become much more attractive to you, right? It's the same thing with the third eye. When you have so much more love and respect for all of the world around you, you see it all in a different way. You see more than the outer appearance, essentially. And that's kind of what third eye opening is all about. But that's why you need all of the previous steps of alchemical transmutation to get there, because you have to get rid of your ego first and stop, you know, law of attractioning negativity towards you. And you have to be open enough to love and appreciate everything in front of you, because it's all you. It's all a piece of the same thing that you're a piece of. So you're connected in that way forever. And once you can acknowledge and appreciate that, more of itself, more of yourself in front of you will open for you to interpret in your brain. It's not mystical. It's definitely physics and, you know, biology, but it's mentally operated. It's mentally activated, and it's mentally deactivated, you know. So if you don't use it, you lose it type deal. Anyway, distillation. How do we get there? Distillation is the silver process of alchemical transmutation. Dominion of the moon, the divine feminine, ruling element water, of course. Chemical representation, black pulvis solaris. It's a mixture of antimony and purified sulfur. Antimony being the feminine quality and purified sulfur being the masculine quality. You've essentially just added fire to water. And when you add fire to water, what you get is evaporation, right? You know, water boils and then it evaporates. That's the concept of distillation, is that evaporating material is your spirit, which was once, you know, flowing and liquid but still in its very earthy state, is now sped up with the process of heat. You know, so you add heat to it, you add fire to the water, and you're literally speeding up your vibration. You're accelerating the vibration of all of your own inner molecules, at which point you will ascend in consciousness. So that's the goal. So chemically, distillation is the process of purification by boiling and collecting the vaporous condensation, which is kind of what I just explained. Physiologically, distillation takes place in the ajna or silver chakra. This is also known as the third eye chakra. This step activates the third eye by focusing energies that were once deliberately divided all together for one unified purpose. Physically, distillation is the united higher spirit with the lower spirit conjunction. The vibration of the consciousness is at a frequency which surpasses the limitations of matter. This is the point at which the above spiritual being blends with the below physical being, and the two become one. So there has to be that in-between transition process where you aren't the body that you wear, and you aren't the limitations of matter around you and, you know, surrounding your spirit. You did all that, you know, you came to this realm and you grew this crystalline shell around you so that you could interact with the world around you and learn about yourself. And once you get to the point where you have outgrown the need for that, that's when you're in distillation. You know, when you no longer need to separate yourself from other energies to define who you are. You no longer need to be independent of everything. You know, you had that desire at one point to be independent of the creator and to grow and have an experience on your own. But now you have no need for that anymore. Now you're ready to go back to being part of the whole again, not in a separate shell type deal. So anyway, you've outgrown the need for separation. Physiologically, distillation is about consilience. Consilience is unity of knowledge. The lifetime of information collected about the sciences, the arts, the humanities, politics, religions, cultural histories, social interaction, it all finally comes together like pieces of a puzzle. Then it evolves before your very eyes. The pieces of you that were missing seem to pop up out of nowhere. And, you know, your newfound trust in metaphysics shows you that they were there the whole time. You know, there was nothing missing. You just couldn't see it. And it's the Ionian enchantment, alive and well. As above, so below. There's so much more to everything when you have both sides of the story. Worldly knowledge will give you the below information, but the above information has to be found from a higher level of consciousness. While you were in fermentation, you forgot to notice that you were evolving too, and your consciousness was evolving and growing into something that you never knew you were already meant to be. And when you unite your compartmentalized mental state, your third eye opens and you can see the unseen. Like I said, it's not anything that's not already there. It's just stuff that you don't consciously interpret while you're set to autopilot. There's no set time for fermentation. Fermentation could take years, it could take months, it could take lifetimes. But once you get it, you get it. And when you've gotten it and shared it and refined it, you know, there's only one realization that comes from that, is that you can never know all there is to know. Like your lifetime search for wisdom will show you that there's always more wisdom. And that's a beautiful thing. Not, you know, you can't even learn everything there is to know about yourself. You can explore your inner and outer worlds for lifetimes if you want, and you'll still find there's always new things to discover, even about yourself. Distillation is accepting that there's always more to learn and being open to that cause. The experiences gained in fermentation can always be applied to new causes. The test of spirit in distillation is how spirit sees the energies in and around itself. Does the now fermented spirit have the emotional neutralization to make a wise choice and not an emotional reaction? A distilled spirit would see opportunity in every obstacle, and it would not force its will into existence. Instead, it would use the principles of natural law to create an environment which manifests its will naturally. No longer driven by the urge to receive, the distilled spirit has a hunger to give. And that's the difference. That's a huge difference. You know, you're no longer self-absorbed, and you're no longer selfish, and you're no longer self-interested. You know, like it doesn't matter. Like none of this, I can't, you know, like none of this is going to be me in the next lifetime, in the next realm, in the next, you know, everything that I define myself as now is only for this moment, because in the next section of my life, I'm going to be something totally different. And all of this will be a great learning experience, but not something I carry with me. So you sort of have to rise above the physical plane and all of its glories and all of its, you know, entrapments. You have to rise above and realize that it's not who you are. It's just a training ground. Anyway, unity of knowledge is the secret that the higher spirit waits for the lower spirit to learn. Once the lower spirit is ready to learn this lesson, all of the doors of the mind open up for spirit. The energetic aura of the spirit radiates out like heat from the sun. This is one in balance. This is one in unity of mind. The energy which radiates from a distilled spirit is more powerful than the energy which radiates from a huge crowd all singing the same song. Separation is what we call sin, and we had fallen into that state. The only way out of separation is unification. Polarize your imbalance and thus activate your pineal gland. So the concept of separation, it started in Kether. Remember, we're going back to Tree of Life now. You were once a tiny atom that lived in a community called a cell, that lived in a state or country called an organ or whatever of the creator. Okay, you were once an atom of the creator, right? You decided at one point there was a desire for independence, separation, to live a unique experience outside of the whole, right? You had that desire, and that was, when you first got together. And ever since then, you've been growing and learning and expanding and becoming in an independent fashion of the creator. And now you're in distillation, and you've come so far. You went down the whole tree of life in the first, however many years of your life, in physical body, developing a personality, right? And a concept of who you are. But you get to this point and you realize that was fun, but now it's time to go home. None of that is, what I was meant to be or how I was meant to exist. It was all temporary, and it was beautiful, and it was fun, and I'll go back there one day and do it again. But right now, this is me realizing that that's not who or what I am, what my purpose was. So anyway, distillation is refining all of your experiences from that point when you dropped into Kether till now, essentially. It was a wild ride. It was a beautiful journey, but there's more journey ahead of you. And to get there, you have to let go of the whole need for separation, outgrow the need for separation, because nothing is truly separate. Everything is in its natural state, one collection of one thing. It's all the whole, So anyway, that's distillation. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be back here in a few with coagulation, and we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much.